Welcome to the Copy Closer Podcast. Today I've got Brad Bearden on here. This is a guy I've been secretly watching online. I've never had the pleasure of actually meeting him, and all these people that I talk with have mentioned his name. He's the guy you've probably studied his ads, studied his stuff, and you may not even know who he is. But this is the man behind the scenes. Brad, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me, man.
So for the folks who may not know who you are, can you give us a kind of a little story about what did you do before marketing? How did you get into this world of marketing, and kind of take us through your story?
Yeah, man. I'll give you the condensed version. It starts off with fucking up my life a lot and end up spending 4.5 years in prison for robbery.
Wow.
It was my first claim to fame. I made America's Dumbest Criminals, and I'm very proud of that to this day.
Is that a real title? Is that like a TV show?
Yeah, it is.
No,
I don't know that it's still around today, but it was at one point in time, and nationally broadcasted TV show. And my dumb ass decided to go and rob a grocery store for 2 cases of Bud Light, and I did so. And then instead of 2 cases of Bud Light and whatever money was in the cash register, and I was very polite to the lady. I handed her a note, and I said, I don't know, I was in a drunken stupor. I've been fishing and drinking all day long. And nonetheless, walk out. But when I walk out, I'll tell her, "Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate it." And just nod my head. All this is on camera, by the way. And so I walk out just as nonchalant and casual as can be. And I happen to get to the car to go, and the car's locked. And lo and behold, I'd left my keys sitting on the cash register. It gets better. It gets better. So this was a shopping center that had a grocery store in it, right? Inside this same shopping center, they're just not down the street. In the same shopping center, there just so happened to be a police station in the same shopping center. So let's just say I was apprehended rather quickly. And it turned out to be a serious charge because I got charged with armed robbery, which is a Class A felony, because I never brandished a weapon, but I had a fishing knife in my pocket. I've been fishing all day. And lo and behold, I found out very quickly that if you commit a crime with the possession of a weapon, whether you brand it or not, it is now an armed offense. So nonetheless, 4.5 years later, I come out of prison, and I don't have a big family. I mean, I have my own family now, but at the time, really no one. I was completely homeless. Literally had an officer from the prison drive me an hour and a half to Birmingham, Alabama, and drop me off on the curb of a halfway house. It was like, good luck. And thankfully, I was able to get them to give me a little bunk to sleep on. And I started trying to rebuild my life. And at the time, I wanted to be a personal trainer, something for 4.5 years, I'd been working out quite a bit in prison and studying. So I went into that field and did fairly well. I did pretty good. Just as a 1099 trainer at a gym, as many of those people do in that field. And then that eventually graduated into me starting my own business. And in that whole, let's just say segment of my story, I had gotten married, had twins and twin girls. They're 7 today.
Wow,
and,
congrats.
About to turn 8. Yeah, I love them, man. They're my world. And I've got a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old boy as well. So I've got my hands full now. But at the time, I just had the twins. And when they were 9 months old. I don't know where I got 18 from. 9 months old, me and their mother divorced, and we have a great relationship today. But at the time, it was obviously not great. And I had full custody. I was immediately awarded full custody of them. And she retaliated financially and devastated everything. Like financially, I mean, I went from like literally a 30 to 60 day window from an 805 credit score to below a 500, all bank accounts drained. I mean, it was atrocious. And so I did what any savvy entrepreneur would do. I'd say, you know what? This is the perfect time to start my own business, right? It was like, fucking why not? I got no money. I've got no credit. I've got nobody to like co-sign or guarantee anything. I literally have nothing. But the problem was I honestly couldn't afford childcare. And the gym that I was working at, I kept bringing my girls up there and sitting them in the office. I mean, they're 9 months old and they're twins. They had to feed every 3 hours. So I was, and right, understandably so, they're like, Brad, dude, you can't bring your kids up here anymore. But I couldn't afford childcare and I had nobody to watch them. So like logically, I'm like, well, now it's time. So I go out, man. And I think any entrepreneur, I don't care what field you're in, any entrepreneur, any copywriter, any closer will appreciate this, is I decided I was going to get a commercial lease. Now, I mean, I literally had a below 500 credit score. I had had I was training some people once I made this decision out of this apartment that I was living in, the gym there. I was making maybe $1,000, $1,200 a month, maybe. I mean, it was fucking nothing. And so no revenue, I have nothing, right, to bring to go get a commercial lease. But I call every realtor. I'm going knocking on doors. I'm getting hung up on, laughed at. I mean, doors slammed in my face, like literally. And I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands of calls. And I'm just relentless. So I'm like, somebody's going to give me a chance somewhere. And lo and behold, one day I had a realtor return a call from me, and there was a gym, a small 1,200 square foot facility that was, if you ever heard of the Fitness Together brand, it was a Fitness Together franchise that had been foreclosed upon. And he called me. It's like, hey, I hear, you're looking for a place to open your own gym. And that's absolutely. Asked me if I want to take a look at the place. Absolutely, I do. And now I know, again, my shot of actually getting approved for anything is slim to none, but I'm still going to take my shot. Like I'm going to take the shot and see what happens. So I show up, and before he even turns the lights on, and it happens to be in an amazing, amazing neighborhood, like in like really a high net worth, amazing, great density, great location. And the gentleman says, before he even turns the lights on the place, I said, look, man, let me tell you, look, I've got no credit. I've got no money. I've got nothing that you want. I can't give you a deposit. I can't give you a guarantee, or I can't give you anything that you're going to ask for, but I can tell you without looking at it, if you'll give me a chance, I'll give you my word, I'll make it work. And he just stopped and looked at me, and he's an older gentleman, and just something inside of him, man, he just looked at me and he said, son, I believe you. I was like, well, good. That's a good thing. And he said, well, we just managed this. He happened to own the management company, but the owner of it lived in California. This was in Alabama. And so he said, let me reach out to him, see what he says. And we'll see where we go from there. Next day, the man calls me, said, Mr. Bearden, got some good news. I said, talk to me, man. Talk to me. He says, you got your shot. I'm like, you're kidding. He's like, we're going to give you the lease. No credit check, no guarantee, no deposits. And we're going to give you the first 6 months. The first 3 months free. And the 3 months thereafter that, half of what rent would cost. So the first 6 months was dramatically discounted.
What?
And here's where it gets better. Here's where the miracle comes in. I don't know if you believe in miracles, but this is one. He says, all that remember I said it had been foreclosed upon. So there was about $20,000 to $30,000 worth of fitness equipment that was still in there. And he said, all that equipment in there? I said, yes. He said, would you like it? I said, absolutely. He says, well, we'd like to sell it to you. I said, well, Mr. Ponder, I would love to buy it. But again, what I told you, I'm broke. Like I've got it. We can figure out a payment plan, do something. I'll figure it out. I'm telling you, when I'm telling you I'm broke, like I'm broke. He said, no, I think you'll be able to figure this one out. I talked to the owner, and we just really want to give you a shot, man. So if you'd like to buy all of that equipment, we'd like to sell it to you all for $1.
What?
Absolutely sold him. And I'm like, man, praise God. Like this is a miracle. I don't care. Like it just, boom, there it is. So there was my shot. And I share all that because it leads into where I am today in marketing, because I had given this man my word, and I had my shot to start my own fitness facility, and I had to figure out a way to make it work. Well, you're not going to make it work unless you can get customers, right? So I couldn't afford anything. I couldn't afford a marketing firm or a marketing agency. I didn't know. All I could do was dive into everything that I could find online. So I YouTubed and Googled everything in the fucking world. And I built my own website. And this is before all ClickFunnels and everything, right? This is, it's straight up WordPress, HTML, CSS. It's like build this shit out. And the only way that I could get clients is if I'm number one in Google. So how do I SEO optimize this bad boy? And I'm sitting there, and within, I think 2 to 3 months, I was number one across every search engine organically, and business started rolling. Things started popping. And within an 18-month period from that day that I got that lease to 18 months later, I'd done 1.2 million.
Wow.
Things were like obviously my life just was changing rapidly, and that business continued to grow. It continued to flourish. We went to a bigger location, and a lot of great opportunities came out of that. But here's what I learned. I didn't really give a shit about the fitness industry. Right now, I'm talking to you now. I literally just got home from the gym. I work out 7 days a week. I enjoy fitness for myself. I enjoy taking care of myself. But as a business, like it just wasn't what I thought it would be. It was a step to allow me to learn that I loved I had a genuine passion for marketing and sales. It was like a game to me, right? It was a scoreboard. And so when I started growing the business, one of the things that helped me be successful is I learned very quickly how to systematize and replace myself in actually training people and doing all that stuff. And I just got into the marketing and sales. And it was a lot of fun, man. And I found out that was my passion. So I started helping others, like most people would, first just other gyms, then other service providers that developed into more franchises, and then some small franchises and some larger franchises. And I just kept hitting home runs. And the reason for it was because most people that they were accustomed to, what I came to find out is most consultants or most marketing guys that come in, they typically come in with a background of the philosophy, which is true, that it takes money to make money, which is very true. But I had been able to figure out, how to squeeze as much juice out of a lemon as possible. So I'd figured out how to do things with a lot smaller budget and get exponential results. And so because I had that scarcity mentality, right? That's how I grew in this world. So that really started to kind of make a name for itself. Or the results that I was able to provide for those clients. And then one thing led to another, one introduction led to another. And I was sitting in Maui at a Kevin Nations mastermind, if you're familiar with Kevin Nations.
He's like, I've never met him, but like 5 people I've interviewed have all brought him. Like Stuman's brought him up. You're bringing him up. 3 other people I can't remember. I'm like, I got to freaking get this guy on.
Great dude.
Man's a beast.
He is very good, very somewhat under the radar, but really good dude. But we're sitting in Maui, actually in a hot tub overlooking the ocean, and me and Jason Hornug hit it off. And so we're sitting there and we're kicking back, and we start to develop a friendship. Great friends to this day, but that's where it started. And he was great friends with Frank. He had previously ran ads for Frank, and then that had fallen apart a little bit, and Dominate Web Media had began running all their ads, and they were doing a real shit job. And so Frank was looking for someone to bring on full time to really take all of that to the next level. So Jason made the introduction to Frank. He's like, "Hey man, you think we could work something out?" So me and Frank jumped on the call. I'll never forget it. He called my phone. He sent me a voice text message out of the blue. And I was in the mall parking lot, and I'm like, there's no fucking way this is Frank Kern. He just like out of the blue, but I know his voice. Like I've studied all this shit. I've bought all this stuff. Like, this is Frank. So I hit him back, and so we jump on the car. He's like, hey man, let's do like a 90-day thing where let's just test it out, see what happens after 90 days. And at the time I had my own little agency going. I had my little consulting firm going. So this was, just kind of see what happens. And over those 90 days, Frank would tell you to this day that was the most profitable 90 days of his career up until that point. And that's saying something, right? Wow. That's really saying something if you know the history of his career.
Yeah, he's been around for quite some time.
Yeah, man. So he's like, what will it take for you to walk away from everything else and come in and be my CMO, my chief marketing officer? And so we had that conversation, and I ended up shutting everything down, walking away, and for 2 years just served at his right hand. And man, that was one of the most incredible learning, just an incredible experience where we got to do a lot of good things, make a lot of good money. I got to serve him on a really high level, and I got to learn at a really high level as well. Obviously, in that world, met a lot of really, really cool, very influential people, and made a lot of great friends, and was able to serve a lot of them as well too. So it really, that honestly was a pivotal change in my life. It took me from this guy that was just trying to really make a name for himself to somebody who just had, the stamp of approval on him, and everybody welcomed me in with open arms. And I kind of became that guy that was behind the scenes. I was like, if there's a guru out there that's struggling, I wouldn't say any, but I would say there's 60 to 70% of any big name guru out there. I've probably done some work for them behind the scenes. That was, number one, a blessing, number 2, fun, and number 3, lucrative.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
I love that you're the best person to interview because you've got such a great story. You can just keep going and going and going. I'm just sitting here like it's a movie. I love it. But one of the things as you're talking about, so I'm like, you'd already had a successful gym. I mean, I remember I had a martial arts school, and it was, it was a struggle. We had 10 grand a month in rent because we were idiots. That was the first mistake we did. But we had 10 grand a month in rent. And I remember working at that for a couple years and just thinking, this is just crazy. I mean, we had barely passed just over 100 people in like 10 or 11 months. And I was like, that's crazy. We're only breaking even with 100 people. This is madness. Then I kind of discovered the internet, started making some money. So I'm like, I see some correlations, but it's like, man, you did something a lot of people I don't see do. Like, you built $1 million gym. First off, that's hard in itself, I feel like. And then from there, you started doing some freelancing stuff. And I'm curious, what is it that, there's people who talk about, I would never go work at a company if I'm doing this freelancing thing. But you actually, it sounds like it was a smart move. You worked with a guru, somebody who's super established, and it seems like that was the best thing for you. You took a pause on your own business, dedicated a couple of years to that, and then transitioned. What was that? What was like the decision that made you say, you know what, I'm going to do this? Was it just like great compensation, or was there a long-term plan?
Well, I think, you have to approach business like a chess game, right? It's not a linear path. There's no, step one, step two steps. It's not like going through a funnel. I mean, that's just not how becoming a successful entrepreneur. I wish it was that simple, but we both know it's not. I looked at it as a great chess move. I sat there and I certainly struggled ego-wise, to be honest, because like, man, that same thing is like, do I really want to go and be an employee again for anyone, regardless of who they were? But I'm looking at my life and my career, and like, if there's an opportunity for someone to, greatly expedite your learning curve and your personal network, like, you got to really consider that. And I reached out. One of my great friends is a woman. She's not very well known. She's, again, a behind the scenes person. Her name's Rachel Vickery. I'd highly recommend anyone to follow her. She's a elite performance coach, one of the top elite performance coaches in the world. She works with the Golden State Warriors and all of these top teams and top athletes.
What's her last name?
Vickery. Rachel Vickery. She's Australian, but she does a lot of work here in the States and all over the world. She's incredible woman. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, here we go, Rachel, here's where I'm at. And she'll never make a decision for you, but she will just lay out the things. And it was obvious, like, this was an opportunity that I needed to take in order to get to where I want to be 5 years, 10 years down the road. And the funny thing is where I thought I would be in 5 years, because I made that move, I was there 3 years later. Right. And you have to make those moves strategically. You can't just make them with the wrong person. I mean, Frank is a really good guy. Like, the people that you see as persona online, the man is that times 10. Like, the dude is a giving guy. He's an honest dude. He's a hard worker. He's a really good person, and he only wants people around him to succeed. So you have to be strategic in that, but it was a really, really good move for me.
I love it, man. And when you were working with them for those couple of years, can you think of a couple of things that maybe you picked up that helped shorten that learning curve, Was it like his stamp of approval, or were there other things, like maybe systems or other strategies that maybe you picked up by working with Frank?
Well, you'll appreciate this. I thought about this. I actually had this conversation yesterday, I believe, with a colleague. No, it wasn't a colleague. I just, as a matter of fact, I had this conversation with Frank yesterday. We were talking about something, ironically, and here's what I learned. And Frank never told me this, but this is something that I think you'll appreciate. And I don't care if anybody believes it to be true or not. It is. Like, this is factual. You can't, when it comes to marketing and sales and acquisitions, all of this stuff, it all really hinges on one thing. Like, now, there's a bunch of moving parts, right? There's always, you got to have good closers. You got to have good systems and good processes. You have to have a good product. You have to have good follow-up. I mean, all these things, right? But there's one thing that makes, like, you can be mediocre. You can be a 2 or a 3 at media buying, at funnel building. You can, at whatever you want to name it, you can be a 2 or 3 at anything. And there's one skill set that if you are a fucking rock star at this, it makes you look like a rock star at everything else. Copywriting. Period. Like, I don't care what anybody says. It's a fact. And up until I spent that much time with Frank, I had no idea how powerful copywriting really, really is. Like, it's the golden goose, right? It's the thing that really can make, I don't care who you are or what your funnel is or what your product is, how great of a fucking funnel builder you are, or how great of a media buyer you are. It doesn't matter. If you can't write great copy and put amazing copy in an ad and incredible copy on a sales page, and like, you're not going to win, or you're going to struggle. But you can, like, if you can be shit at all those other things and you put great copy in there, you're going to fucking win.
Yeah.
And so that was a big epiphany to me. Secondly is working with Frank. Obviously, I would say one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned, and this has transformed not only my business, but all the businesses I work on, is liquidation of ad spend, right? Of creating a funnel process or an acquisition process, typically for higher ticket items, but it could be lower ticket, that liquidates ad spend and allows you to scale indefinitely. Mm-hmm. Meaning most people, I think you would agree, most people, especially in the online space, they would say, let's say you had a $5,000, $10,000 product you're going to sell. Most people are going to say they're going to drive, direct response ads to a direct response page, get people to opt in for a strategy session, have some type of application. They get on the phone, they have a 1 in 3, 1 in 5 close rate. And, that's kind of how they build their entire business model. Right. However, what you're doing is you're saying, all right, I'm let's say it's a $10,000 product. I'm willing to spend $5,000 to $7,000 in ads to get this $10,000 sale. And then I'm going to live off this profit margin. Right. Well, which makes sense. Well, what Frank had really ingrained in me and has changed, again, not only in my life and the way I look at marketing, but every business I've ever worked with, is how to liquidate the ad spend first. Meaning, so let's say we have that same $10,000 product. Well, what we would do, what I would do with any client now is I say, okay, we have to create a liquidation offer in the front end where let's just say it's a book funnel, right? We're going to create a book funnel where we sell a book with an order bump, right? So the book is going to have an order bump. The book is going to be a paid book. I do not believe that. I'm not a fan of free plus shipping. It's a paid book, but it's an ebook, right? People don't care. We've split tested that with tens of millions of dollars. People can give a fuck less if it's a physical book or ebook.
I love this because I'm actually testing this now. So this is great to hear. So
I promise you.
So what I was about to start, and this is because I'm ripping some other guys, 2-hour copyright, 2-hour agency, 2-hour some shit, I forget what. I saw him doing. I'm like, this is genius. So instead of free plus shipping, they're doing just like what you said. It was like a $3, $4 front end for an ebook, and then there's some. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. So we typically do the book between $5 and $7, and then we'll do an order bump for somewhere between $27 and $37. You're going to have, depending on how good your order bump is, it's going to typically have a take rate of 20 to 40%, right? Well, then I'm going to take you to an upsell, right? The upsell is typically going to be between $197 and $297 price point. If you're doing that right, you're going to have between a 4.5% and a 6.5% take rate on that first upsell. And then if they say yes to the upsell, I'm going to take them to a downsell. A downsell almost always I'm giving you some real shit right here.
Dude, I'm writing it.
The best price point on the downsell is going to be a two payments to 97. Right. When I say this has been tested with tens of millions of dollars, I'm not bullshitting. Like this is the best funnel for this type of offer. Well, go back a step. What if they say no to the 297, the first upsell? If they say no to that, then we take them to a one-time offer where they can get that same upsell for 3 payments in 97. Right. So now if they said yes to it, they never know the first one existed. They never knew the 3 payments 97 would have been an option. Right. But they said no to it. We take them there, 3 payments 97. And then whether they say yes or no to that 3 payments 97, we still take them to the 2 payments 97 offer, whatever that is. So what you find is you're going to typically, in this funnel, you're typically going to have an average order value, meaning over 100 sales, you're typically going to have an average order value of somewhere between 30 to $45. Okay. So what that allows you to do as a marketer or a business owner, whatever you want to call it, is now I can spend, now remember it's a $5, $6 book, but I can spend $30 to get you to buy a $5 book. Now, if I told you, if I didn't explain this process, I just said, hey, I'm going to spend $30 to get you to buy a $5 book, you would think I was fucking dumb. But what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the average order value over 100 purchases. And here's the amazing part about this. This is what, again, just can transform any business is now what I have in my ecosystem is I have a buying customer who is now indoctrinated to me and has pulled out their fucking credit card and done a transaction. Not a follower, not an opt-in, not a consumer. No, I have a purchaser. I have someone who has done a transaction with me, is consuming my content, and therefore values me. Now my content's got to be good, but they have a certain level of respect for me. I have a certain status in their eyes, right? So now, what do I do? So let's just say, for example, now, is it easy? Can you be profitable in that? And some people build their whole business off that process. And you certainly can. But the real money is to say, all right, let's say your average order value is $30. Well, I'm willing to spend $30 to get that buyer. So I don't give a fuck if I'm making anything. As long as I'm breaking even. At the end of the day, I break even. So I'm getting a free person into my ecosystem, a free buyer. So my follow-up now to my $10,000 product, from the moment they buy that, I am going to beat them to fucking death until they either say yes or no to the $10,000 product. And guess what it costs me? Nothing. Zero. It costs me nothing. So every single $10,000 product I sell from that point forward is 100% profit. There's no acquisition cost. And my ad spend, I can go as high as I fucking want to, as long as I'm staying to break even. And that was the thing, I think the biggest takeaway of thinking about marketing that Frank really instilled in me was like, how do we liquidate our ad spend to where really, like, yeah, we spent ridiculous amounts of money in ads. I mean, we spent tens of millions of dollars in ads, and people are like, man, there's such a big ad spend. Like but they're thinking of it as an expense. To us, it was a wash. It cost us because it's liquidating itself, and we're selling all this other shit on the back end constantly. I mean, our back end system built out for 18 months thereafter. Like, so, I mean, it's transaction after transaction after transactions happening. So that was, I think, the biggest takeaways. And that's just one example of how you can do it. But there's more. There's a few different ways. But anytime that you can create a process, a bolt-on process to the front of your marketing to where you're able to liquidate your ad spend and take a buyer and enter them into your ecosystem to where then you can sell them higher ticket items at 100% profit rate, that's when the fucking rocket ship takes off. Like that's when you take that to a whole nother level. That's when you go from struggling to make $400,000 a year to making $20 million a year. And I'm not talking about like crazy numbers. I'm talking about shit that I've seen happen over and over and over and over again, because it's no longer an expense and it's as scalable as you want to scale it.
That's unbelievable. It's not unbelievable because I've seen it happen. And what you just dropped, and you gave everybody here, myself, I'm like taking these little notes and shit here. I'm fucking writing price points because you're giving it. I mean, for anybody, if you've listened to this, make sure you re-listen to it and start taking notes this time, because he just dropped a killer funnel that's working and something that you can use right now to scale to the moon and actually get customers for free. That is so genius, so smart, and it's something that anybody can do. And I assume you can do. I mean, we're talking about just kind of like a marketing process. I assume you're using Facebook ads, but you could do this with YouTube ads, Google.
Absolutely.
Of course, doesn't matter.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the thing is you test out the funnel and you get it to where, all right, you know what your average order value is going to be. You know, some markets are different. I've got some markets where a bolt-on funnel like that, or certain verticals, their average order value is 54. I've got some, their average order value is 25. But once you know what that number is, now it doesn't matter where you spend it, man. It could be, hell, you could be running ads on Pornhub. It doesn't matter. It's just like, I know that I can spend up to this number in order to get a purchaser of this product, and I'm breaking even. And now I've got my back end systems. They say, you've heard it said a billion times, the fortune's in the follow-up. And that's what this really means. It's not just, oh, I got a lead and I'm going to follow up with them until they close. No. That's not what it really means. What it means is you acquire a customer at break even or better, and then you resell them more expensive shit. And that's where your fortune will be made.
Genius. Jesus, man, this is so freaking good. Dude, so what are you doing now? I mean, you've done all of this stuff for clients. You've done it for yourself. I mean, where are you now? Are you still working with people, helping them do this type of stuff?
Yeah. So I would say two things. One is I just do consulting for some companies, and I have a partnership with an AI company that is really exciting. Something I'm working with is a couple of years down the road. I mean, no, the company's healthy and alive, 8-year company right now, but it's a big deal. But personally, like where my day-to-day operations is, I would say I have a small agency, a little boutique agency that does real well. We work with, let's just say aggressive-minded entrepreneurs, every different vertical that you can imagine, but doing stuff like this. I wouldn't say it's just an agency though. Obviously we run ads, build the funnels, but I say as a boutique agency for a reason, because I'm very selective in who we work with, because I consider myself like a fractional CMO for them. Most agencies come in and it's just like, all right, here's, we're just going to knock out some ads and, run to whatever funnel you have going. And I get that. And that's one business model. It's just, to me, that's boring. I don't know. It's not, I'm at a place in life now where I kind of can do whatever the fuck I want to do. So like, I like getting into a business that's, making $1 million or $2 million and wants to get to 20. And it's like, all right, let me show you how to do that. And then work with them, work with their team. Yes, we'll run the ads, but like, there's just you can't take a business from $1 million to 20 million unless you have your hands in all aspects of the business, or at least your influence. And so that's what I do is I work with, up and coming. Like, my sweet spot is if somebody's doing between like 1 and 4 million and they want to get to like 15 to 25 million, that's my people.
That's a sweet spot, man. So where can people find more about you? Do you have a website? Find you on social media, email?
This is going to sound horrible for a marketer. I ain't got none of that shit. You follow me on Facebook or Instagram.
There we go.
But everything that I get now is from referral. And
especially at that level. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I could put out funnels, and I'm going to release some products here coming up just because I want to, I don't know, just get bored.
It's fun, man.
Yeah. But it really is, referral is at best level. You want to make certain that you're working with people that that are, at least, people that know them and can vouch for them. The last thing I'm going to do is take on, I don't care how much money they have. So if they're an asshole, I'm not working with them. So if I could launch a funnel and fill it up, but like, for what? I'm good. So follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and anybody wants to reach out, just slide in them DMs, baby.
I love it, man. Everybody go follow him, Brad Bearden, Bearden. Brad Bearden. I spelled that correctly, right?
You did, my man.
I fucked up if I spelled it bad. Brad Bearden, hit him up on Facebook, send him a message on Instagram, tell him you saw him on the podcast. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, man. Thank you for having me.
Take care.